This is Prostock Joe coming to you live from NGRA headquarters here in the great state of North Carolina. And today I come to you as the host of Smack Talk Radio and Smack Talk TV in the role of analyst today. Now, the NGRA has a big race coming up October 26th at Darlington Dragway, the legendary House of Speed. New and improved, and big props to Ronnie Siders, owner of Darlington, and the driver and crew chief for the House of Speed racing team. Those guys are real racers. Ronnie is a real racer, so he knows what it's like to have to go to a track, bet your hard-earned money, and wager that, and be afraid that you're going to get the bad lane. Those guys did a lot of work on that right lane at Darlington, and right now they've got PROMODS going down there, going down that lane, doing the 380s, lighting up the scoreboard. So we know that the track is in good condition. Both lanes are not an issue. Now, the subject at hand, the second annual NGRA Baddest Back Half. October 26th, gates open at noon. I've got 10,000 reasons for every back half in the country to be there. Number one, actually I got 10,001 reasons. There is no entry fee for this race. That means you show up, you race, you compete for $10,000. Now, there is no shame in losing a shootout. This is actually a showdown, but there's no shame in losing the showdown, because if you think about the last 3 or 4 shootouts that you've heard about, question is who lost those showdowns? Who lost those showdowns? And nobody could probably tell you who lost them, let alone who was even in them. So you don't have the ass whooping to fear, which a lot of guys do. They fear the ass whooping. The second piece is, excuse me. The second piece is, there's $10,000 on the line. When is the last time somebody offered you a $10,000 payday? $10,000 payday. Show up, race, $10,000. That money will go into one man's hands. That money will be at the track when we get there. So if you've got 2 cars or 10 cars, we're giving away $10,000. $10,000 to the baddest back half. And I've got actually one more reason, so that makes 10,002 reasons we're giving away the belt. My good friend over at Grudge Inc., the CEO Jay Barnes and his VP Cole Killer, those guys have gladly agreed to put up a championship back half belt, baddest back half in the world. Now, the good thing about that particular belt, you get to claim the title, baddest back half, for 1 full year, 364 days. You will be the baddest back half in the world, or at least have the title. You can get your ass towed up 10 times, but you can still say, I'm the baddest back half in the world, at least for 1 year. So, now, right here, I've got a list. I've got 39 names of prominent back half cars in the grudge game. Prominent back half cars in the grudge game. Some of them step out once in a while, but I've got 39 names. I didn't know there were so many back half cars, and I probably left a few out, but in any event, I've got 39 names here. I'm not going to go down the list and speak to all 30. Well, actually, I will. I'm going to talk about all 39. I'm going to lump some in a group, and I'll provide some analysis about that particular group of guys. So first, I'm going to read this whole list of 39. I'm going to read the list, and then I'm going to talk about some individuals, and I'm going to put some groups together. Okay? I've got Waverly Green. I believe he's from Virginia. The Copperhead Camaro. That's Scoot Williams. They're from Strong Island, New York. And I got George Williams with his back half. It's called the Freight Train I've got the Blue Magic car from Virginia, Little Mo, South Carolina, the Lumberjack, Big Earl from Texas, Mississippi Nightmare. Well, I guess you know that from the Silver Bullet from New Jersey, the Beast, Wild Bill, Certified Gangster, Big Sexy, the 2012 Back Half Grudge Racer of the Year. We actually we've invited some other cars that can compete with back halves because we've invited some old school 2x3 chassis cars which can't run with the top. I mean, I guess they kind of call them top sportsmen, but those guys can't run. They run like the extreme back half guys. So we've got Stone Cold in the mix. We've got the Four Horsemen, Kenny Beecham. We've got J.C. Richardson, the reigning baddest back half in the world. We've got Baldy from Florida, Racing Jason. He's got one of those 2x3 cars. Michael Martin, fastest known ever back half time in the world. I think it's on 10.5s too. Short Dog in the Too Short car. He's got a little car, not the big car, the Too Short car. Shakedown Racing, Ronald Wade. Chris Butler, he's got a back half. The Hatton Boys, they've got a 2x3 car. The Iceman 2x3 car. Troublemaker. Mr. Peanut from Mount Vernon. Little Howie from Mount Vernon. Dolomite, Bobby Wildchild, Buddy Blow, Motion Racing, Little John, Louisiana Bad Boys, Leroy Brown, Bruce Leroy, Show Enough Racing. Those guys are from Texas. The Strobridge Boys from Florida, Sweet Charlie, Virginia Slim, Dr. Jekyll, and Mr. Hyde. And I left out actually the Wright brothers. They've got 2 back halves, and their nephew has a back half as well. I left those guys out. And there may be some more back halves around, but you get the point. This could be a really, really competitive field if all these folks showed up and raced. But they probably won't, and that's just the reality. And why won't they? Because a lot of them don't feel like they can win. And let me say this. Now, I've had this argument with a bunch of people. If you were showing up to grudge race this particular guy or some of the badder guys on this list, then yeah, I would say don't do it. Because what you have to do is you have to put up your money. Okay? Now, the gamble is you spend your gas money and your race preparation funds, whatever those might be. I mean, wherever you go to race, you're going to spend those regardless. But you spend those and you go to the track and you shoot for $10,000. Now, when you grudge race, you got to put up 10 to get 10. That's just like playing poker. A guy puts $1,000 there. You got to put your 1,000 in order to get his. You might be able to beat him, but if you don't put your 1,000 in, you never know. But this particular race, all you got to do is bring yourself. Bring your car. You don't have to bring no money. Just enough to get to the track. And enough nitrous and fuel to make 2, 3, 4 trips. But anyway, here's my analysis on all these back halves. And I know you guys are waiting to get to it. Now, J.C. Richardson, his car is called 69 Steel. It's a 1969 body style Camaro. It's all steel, so therein lies the name 69 Steel. But the thing about that car is J.C. Richardson loves that car. He will not cut it. So that car has not been cut. Dash, windows, the car has not been cut except, to make it back half. But, all the fenders, the hood, the everything on that car is freaking steel. The trunk lid, everything is steel. The windows, it's all factory. That car, they could put some regular tires on it and drive down the freaking street, if they make all the lights in the car work. So they can drive it down the freaking street. But J.C. Richardson won the race last year. He won. So here we have it. This goes to prove you don't have to be the fastest car to win on race day. In the NHRA, we see that every week or every time they have an event. The number 1 qualifier very seldom wins. Now, what does that mean, number 1 qualifier? That means the fastest guy. The fastest guy on the property for that weekend very seldom wins. That's a really hard thing to do. That's why people are always impressed when the number 1 qualifier actually takes home the wallet. The same thing with grudge racing. The fastest car does not always win. So let's take a look at some of these guys and talk about what their chances are. Let's talk about some of the back half races that have transpired this year. Little Mo went out to Texas, got beat out there. Birdman seemed like he was invincible. I mean, Birdman. Oh, I forgot about Birdman as well. Birdman seemed like he was invincible. Oh, Birdman, he's beating PROMODS. Birdman, he's killing everybody in the world. Birdman, he can't get a race. Birdman, he's got twin turbos. He came to to Rockingham, the World Grudge Nationals, and Big Sexy tore him a new asshole. Don't hate me, hate the game. That's just true. Now, grudge racing is about stipping your best race. Big Sexy stipped his best race. He got the back tire. This is true. But based on how bad he beat Birdman, he could have ran him head up and still beat him the same way. He beat him by 3 or 4 cars. He beat the shit out of Birdman. So that back tire did not make the difference. If they came across like that, he was in his fender, then you could say, okay, the back tire made it, because the back tire is that much. If they came across like that, then that made a difference. But he beat the shit out of Birdman. He beat him like that. He beat him with train smoke. So that didn't make the difference. At the end of the day, Big Sexy whooped his ass. I shook my camera. Dr. Jekyll came out here. He won against Mac and Melvin, the Silver Bullet. But everybody does, so I mean, I love Mac and Melvin. Those guys are some really good guys. They just don't have a fast car, not in the back half world. I mean, but they should still come to the race because they could win. I mean, Dr. Jekyll blew his motor. Now, Dr. Jekyll is a far superior car to what Mac and Melvin have. They still have the regular gas and brake, if you know what I mean. If you don't, then you don't need to know. They still have the regular brake pedals and gas pedals inside the car. They don't have the race stuff. That's a stock front car. So, and they gave him all the hell that he wanted, Dr. Jekyll. All right, and Dr. Jekyll could not make the next round. So what does that tell you? You never know what's going to happen on race day. But again, my analysis: Mr. Hyde came out here, far superior car to Baldy's, I believe, and Baldy beat the shit out of Mr. Hyde. Then Big Sexy beat the shit out of Baldy. So we look at this, and then the Beast is I mean, that car is tuned by Chris Klein. Chris Klein drives it, as far as I know, and that's a very scary car. Wild Build certified. Those guys are ready to get it. Mr. Peanut, Mount Vernon, beautiful car. I mean, and he's got some great potential, but I don't know that he has a tuner on his team that can put him with these other cars. Little Howie, the same thing. And I think a lot of these guys, and I think, I'm going to say this right now, somebody's going to get mad at me, but see, don't get mad at what I say. When I get mad at what I say, disprove what I say. Now, again, a lot of guys say things, and again, anybody can make up things, because people make up things on me all the time. They just out and out just make up flat out lies, but they can't prove it. What I'm about to say, I'm about to back it up with the evidence. Mr. Peanut, Little Howie, Buddy Blow, Leroy Brown, Showed Up Racing, Virginia Slim, the Lumberjack Camaro, Big Earl, and Short Dog in the 2 Short car, Shakedown Racing, and Chris Butler. Those guys lack heart. They've got some good equipment. If you've got a consistent car that goes down the track, right, you can win races. But those guys very seldom race, so my estimation is they've got to lack heart, because they're always at the racetrack, but they don't compete. So what is that saying? Not that they don't have the money to get to the track or money to race. It's just that they're afraid to lose. They don't have the heart. A lot of guys don't know how to race it. And me and Rock, and again, October the 5th, at Darlington Dragway, Bounty Hunter Birthday Bash. It's going to be good there. But a lot of guys don't have the heart to race. They don't have the heart to compete. And again, that's really a shame. Every week, week in and week out, I sit on the Smack Talk show and I talk about the race results for the weekend. I pretty much call the same names all the time. I call Racing Jason's name, but not this year. He done got his ass towed up by Mack and Melmer earlier in the year, and he done sat down in a corner someplace. Um, you know, Blue Magic, they're doing some racing. Waverly Green, again, no heart. I mean, this guy, you know, walked around with a belt at Fayetteville. One time I met him and said he was the baddest man in the world, and we tried to lock him in for some races. This dude talking about, no, you got to join some group and do cartwheels and flips and eat 5 hot dogs in 3 seconds or some shit he said. I don't know what he said, but it wasn't about no goddamn racing. I know, and again, that's GOT, not GOD, for those that are keeping score. So, but at the end of the day, you look at a guy like, you know, Michael Martin and the Iceman. The Iceman could win this money because he's invited to this race because he's got a car equivalent to those extreme back half cars. You know, a lot of these guys could win, but will they take a chance? You know, so I'm gonna pick out the top 5 guys that have a chance to win this money. I'm gonna talk about their pros and their cons, and then I'm gonna let you make your picks below. Okay. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, Big Sexy, The Beast, and George Williams with the freight train. All right, those are the top 5 cars in my estimation. Okay, the other guys, Baldy, Stone Cold, J.C. Richardson, all those guys. I like all those guys. Nothing personal. I'm just talking about racing. Okay, I'm just analyzing the racing. Okay, so. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. All right. Cars are out of this world. They are the best of the best. The problem is, let's say this, they ride too close to the edge. Matt Jones, I love him. He's a great guy, but he rides too close to the edge, and those cars don't stay together all the time. You know, they don't stay together all the time. And I don't believe Matt is the greatest of drivers when it comes to leaving. You know, I mean, because these guys, these cars are all competitive, all in the same ballpark. The guy that buzzes most of the time is going to be the guy that wins. When's the last time you've seen one back half drive around another? Think about it. When's the last time you've seen that? Rarely. Okay. Now, we take a look at the Beast. The Beast. Chris Klein. When I move, you move. Chris Klein, for my money, I love his tuning, but he's somewhat of a cowboy. And when I say cowboy, I mean he will take a shot at the tree. And a couple of times he has left the scene too early. You know, you got in the intersection too early. That's not good. You got to wait till it's your turn to go. And you know what I mean by that. He goes red a few times. So now we look at Big Sexy, and we look at George Williams. George Williams is the sleeper in this race. If I had to pick somebody other than Big Sexy, I think Big Sexy because they stay at the track, they stay tuning, they stay with their professionals, they stay with their whole team from the chassis guy to the carburetor guy to the tire guy. They got a team, and those guys do their thing, and Red is the consummate professional behind the wheel. I'm not saying he's going to lead first every time, but you're not going to lead way in front of him. You're not going to lead way in front of him. All right? And especially if you don't give Red no nabs and no crackers, Red's going to lead right there with you. And God dang it, I think that Big Sexy machine is consistent. It goes down every time, and it goes down as best as it can. It goes down real, and I mean real fast. So you've got to look at that car as the favorite. Then you look at George Williams, and I said if there was a sleeper, I would go with the George Williams car, and let me tell you why, because the same deal. That guy's a consummate professional. He's a ProMod driver. He leaves. He's got a race team, those guys, and they tune the car. They stay at the track. They stay tuned on that car, and those guys are consistent. So they're going to go down the track. If you beat them, you're going to have to out-horsepower them. They're not going to make a mistake. They're not going to leave too early. They're not going to leave too late, and they're going to make the trip. And they're going to go fast. So if you beat them, you got to beat them on horsepower. This is Prostock Joe. The second annual baddest back half in the world, coming up October 26th. We've had 2 rain delays, but we're going to give this $10,000 away, and we're going to find out who is the baddest back half in the world. Now, I've made my pick. You know, I want to see, I'm interested to know what your pick is. You can tune into the Smack Talk radio show every Monday Thursday or Friday at 6 p.m. 646-595-2258. Or you can hit me up on 718-772-6139 and tell me who you think is going to be the baddest back half in the world. Also, you can leave a comment below, or you can hit us up on Facebook, National Grudge Race Association, or Smack Talk TV, all on Facebook. So in any event, until then, I hope some of these guys come out for that $10,000 payday. The fans deserve it. The fans deserve it because we NGRA, we worked hard to make sure that we didn't cancel this race. I mean, at some point you just cut your losses and you go the other way. And there was talk about that. There was a discussion about that. But we think we owe it to the race world to determine. Now, this is the biggest back half race every year. All right, we're going to work to make it that way. You name me another back half race that's giving away $10,000 free dollars. We tried to make it a $25,000 race. We were going to even put in $13,000 to $15,000. If we got 10 cars, we were going to put in $15,000 on top of the 10 to make it a $25,000 race. Some guys didn't like that. Okay, so fine, I get that. You know, some guys may not want to compete against some of the heavy hitters, you know, risking $1,000. But now that excuse is gone. We've got $10,000 going to one man. Will you be that man? Will you step up? Will you try to lay claim to the fame of having your name as baddest back half in the world from 2013 until June 2014? This is Prostock Joe, and now you know what I know.